Haven't had any contact with her since 1979 or so.
Who of the people who you've interviewed, because sometimes you meet these shadowy figures and you think that they know so much, and then you speak to them and you're like, you're just a person. You don't know, you're kind of groping in the dark like I am, And then sometimes you meet certain people and you have this kind of inkling of like, you're holding back. You know a lot more than you let on. Who of the people who you've interviewed fall into that second category?
Well, I suppose.
As you know, a lot of the guests I sit down with, whether they're physicists, intelligence officers, people who've worked inside black programs, are operating at a really impressive level mentally. Sometimes I feel like I'm a chimp talking to human beings. Often their work takes a toll, and a lot of them track their health obsessively. Regular lab work, obscure biomarkers, often things that most people never look at. Meanwhile, last time I went to a primary care doctor, they ran maybe like 8 biomarkers, and they told me I was fine and sent me home. This massive difference between the ordinary, broken, and limited healthcare system and what elite people are doing to track their health got me interested in superpower. The beautiful thing is they make elite level healthcare accessible. They'll literally send a licensed professional to your home, or you visit a nearby lab. One simple lab test and you get over 100 biomarkers: heart, liver, thyroid, hormones, metabolism, vitamin levels, even environmental toxins. After that, their app builds you a full action.
The most relaxing game for left-brained thinkers.
What if there was a game? No pay to win, no ads interrupting you, and no mandatory tasks forcing you to log in every day.
Of the people who you've interviewed fall into that second category.
Well, I suppose the most brilliant person who seemed to be in touch with, at a heart level, with the deepest reality that I ever met was probably Jean Houston, who died just about 2 months ago.
Tell me about Jean Houston.
She and her husband, Robert Masters, co-authored a book called Varieties of Psychedelic Experience in about 1968. She was regarded as one of the founders of psychedelic research, one of the founders of the human potential movement. And she created what she called a mystery school, which I attended for some years. And she had the ability, a very rare gift, to induce mystical experiences.
She could induce mystical experiences. What do you mean by that?
Well, for example, on one occasion I was in her mystery school program, and she gave a lecture on Carlos Suarez's book. He's a Kabbalist. He wrote a book called The Cipher of Genesis. And she went through the very first sentence of the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And she went through it in Hebrew, letter by letter. Bereshit, bara Adonai Elohim, etc. in Hebrew. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And somehow, as I'm listening to this lecture, I got it. And I had the experience of how it happened, how God created this universe. And I was rolling on the floor, and I was laughing hysterically. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world that God created all of this. And the next minute I'd be in tears of joy, really. And she saw me like that, rolling on the floor, having this experience. And she looked at me and she winked. Wow. And she said to me, "Oh, so you're having an epiphany."
Yeah, but almost like in this cheeky way, like she knew exactly what she had induced.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
She sounds like an ascended master or something.
And she was known for that. I'm certainly not the only person. People who knew her well had these kinds of experiences in her presence.
It's interesting how it's often the people that aren't super self-promotional. And like, I don't know what your experience of her was, but I imagine she wasn't very egotistical or showy about her abilities.
Well, she had a lot of theatrical talent, I can say that.
Okay, fair enough.
Very talented. She could have been an actress, and she did voices, and she was within the human potential community very well known.
Okay. Well, maybe she was self-promotional. I don't know.
Well, she supported herself throughout her life by doing these workshops and traveling around. She worked with many, many different cultures. I would say, she knew how to live a very full life.
Did you ever get deeper with her on her understanding of the nature of reality? And did she ever say anything that was pretty wild about that?
Well, I think that time she winked at me was about as close as I got.
Sure. Yeah.
But she's written many books, maybe about 20 books.
Okay.
She was amongst them. She had a big following.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
You mentioned meeting Robert Monroe. That's pretty fascinating. He is another guy who studied consciousness. A lot of people now cite this hemisync paper from the mid-1980s that involves synchronization of both hemispheres, and you have the Monroe Institute, of course, in Virginia. What was he like?
Well, he seemed like a very self-effacing person. He was quiet. He invited me to kind of join his program, but I was already in school at Berkeley, so it wouldn't have been feasible or realistic for me at the time. I kind of imagined what would life have been like if I had. I've done a whole series of interviews with Tom Campbell, who worked with him closely, and Tom has wonderful stories about how the Monroe Institute got built up, and as a result of his experiences, he developed, I would say, a very credible theory of how these things work. Tom believes that he has the theory, the answer.
Yes.
And I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but I think he's very close.
You gotta tap into the right data stream. Yeah, he's fascinating. Yeah, I think he also was at NASA, right? Tom Campbell?
Possibly, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So you just intersected with all these amazing people. I feel like I'm missing somebody, and I'm going to kick myself after this interview if I miss anyone. So, are there any other kind of thinking aloud guests that stick out for you that sort of shocked you or helped you develop your own worldview?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Arthur Young.
Oh yeah.
He was a mentor to me, and he was the inventor of the Bell helicopter, the first commercially licensed helicopter. He was an amazing human being. I would put him right up there with Gene Houston in terms of the people who have influenced me the most, intellectually and at a heart level. When I was just beginning my graduate program in parapsychology, he showed up in my life and invited me to live with him, to move into the Institute for the Study of Consciousness he had set up in Berkeley. So I had that experience, and he was a theorist. He had a theory of everything, which I also regard as being very credible.
What was his theory?
Well, it's complex. It's enunciated in his book, The Reflexive Universe, and I would say it's consistent with the idea that the process, the whole universal process, is one of spirit descending into matter, and then matter ascending back into the realm of spirit. And so there's like a V shape, and it starts out, pure spirit he would equate with light. And we talked earlier about if you're a photon, time and space don't even exist. But then you go from light to particles, and the idea of attraction and repulsion, and then to atoms, where you get form, something really solid and stable, and molecules, and then you get complex molecular chains, like that's the beginning of where matter is moving back to the realm of spirit, and then you get life forms, single-celled creatures and plants and animals and ultimately humans. What he did is he created what he called the grid, and he took, in effect, the periodic table of the elements, and he expanded it to be a periodic table of everything. So within the human kingdom, based on this model, he placed modern humans, such as you and I, right about in the middle. In the same place in the animal kingdom, we would be equivalent to clams in terms of the potential of what an animal could be. So he would say the potential for to be fully capable of what a conscious sentient being like a human could be with a long way to go.
I think about that sometimes, like when we talk about non-human intelligences, we talk about them as others. We don't talk about them as a continuum from us. And we were just talking about how latent in every human are these psi powers, abilities to sort of remote view, be intuitive, be clairvoyant in certain cases. And that seems to be fully developed in the case of these kind of non-human entities. And so why would you think of those entities as wholly distinct from you, rather than kind of the next step on a chain of evolution? And there are theorists, pre-Darwin, that used to think of the body or the vessel or the structure as following what could kind of hold the spirit. And when the spirit sort of like graduated that specific kind of training ground, then it would ascend into like another form. And then you have, great researchers like Don Hoffman, who's at, UC San Diego, and he describes embodiment as actually maladaptive for consciousness. And so we're likely just teeming with, disembodied consciousness, where there's less latency and there's more, just ability to sort of instantly react and like know everything very quickly. And so it's just so interesting. Would Arthur Young sort of agree with that graded ascent of man?
I imagine he would, but I think he also felt that figures like Jesus or Buddha represented the future for humanity.
Yeah, well, that's a great feature. It's so cool, too, that he started, again, another guy, nuts and bolts, inventor of the Bell helicopter. Nobody can take that from him. And then he gets really, I know he was close with you and Buharich as well,
yes.
And he was involved in some of those seances with the Nine and stuff.
That's all true.
So that's just such a fascinating, clearly a polymath.
Well, here's the fascinating thing about him, to me. He was born, as I recall, in 1905. He went to school in Princeton, graduated in 1926, studied Einstein's theory of relativity back then when it was really new, and Alfred North Whitehead's process philosophy. And he wanted to do process philosophy himself, which is really what his theory is. It's about universal process. But he also felt that philosophy as a field had failed because it didn't anticipate all of the progress that humanity was making through technology. And he said to himself as a young man, 21 years old, in order to be worthy of doing philosophy, he had to show that he could master something in the physical world.
Whoa.
So he went to the patent office in Washington and looked for unsolved problems. He discovered that there had been, at that point, in 1926, maybe 200 different efforts to build what we now call a helicopter, a machine that could hover in midair. And they had all failed. So he set out with no particular background in engineering to solve that problem. And he worked on it from 1926 up until the first commercial helicopters came off the assembly line at Bell Helicopters, 1947.
That is remarkable. And to talk about precociousness on the part of somebody so young.
Yeah.
Most people, you hear about these stories like, Edison or Tesla or something. It was like in their DNA from a, young age, and they were sort of playing with this stuff really early on. In his case, it's like to come to that intellectual conclusion, and then to just go full force into, and then to actually invent the helicopter, the Bell helicopter. That's amazing.
And he spent the first 12 years, as I recall, working on a design that at the end of the day failed completely, like mini rotors at the ends of the big rotors. But he kept at it. He maintained his focus, and after the helicopter had been released and he was, at that point a very famous and wealthy person, then he decided he had earned the right to do philosophy.
And I think, all these machineries and things are to teach us laws, how to make things. That's why I wanted to make the helicopter, to learn how to make things. It helps in how to.
You picked a great mentor.
He picked me.
Well, as it's often the case, it's sort of bi-directional or meant to be. But that is so cool. That what an amazing and complete life. Thanks. I always find it interesting when somebody's kind of an industrialist and they interact with the physical world, because philosophy can at times be divorced from it.
Yeah.
You don't get the feedback from the kind of cold, hard free market or cold, hard mechanics of technology. But then on the other side, you can end up in this sort of Philistine, I just need to make more money, and you're sort of, have a lifeless attitude towards your consumers if you don't have the philosophical angle. And so I think having both is very cool.
Yes, it can be a trap to be very wealthy. Most of the wealthy people I've ever known have been miserable, but not all of them. Another major supporter of my work was a fellow named Buck Charleston, who invented power steering.
Wow.
And the hydraulic motor. And he was a person without much formal education, and the ideas would just pop into his mind, like with Tesla, fully formed. And then he was working with farmers in Minnesota, and he would ask them, well, what do you need? And as a result of that, he would build inventions to satisfy the needs of the local farmers, and that led to a hydraulic motor he built. I think the first one maybe came out in about 1964, so it was called the gerotor, and as far as I know, they're still manufacturing them using the same design.
Amazing.
What if you could learn more about your health in under an hour? The Pernuvo Whole Body Scan gives you a comprehensive look at your health, screening for over 500 conditions, including many solid tumors.
So he felt that his fortune and his fame came to him from an intuitive source, and therefore he wanted to give back to the source.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. It's also just so interesting that when you audit the scientific process, it looks a lot more like revelation than it does like some final inductive logic step.
Yeah.
Where you just finish the equation. Often it's like, you're, in Einstein's case, a patent clerk, and you're sort of dozing off, or you get some sort of, I'm a big fan of this mid-century inventor named Thomas Townsend Brown. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I believe I've heard of him.
He worked in the world of gravity manipulation, and I think made more inroads than meets the eye. I think his work was sort of suppressed, but he attributes a lot of his life's work to a UFO experience he had, I think at the age of 17 on Catalina Island. It was like this hierophany.
Yeah. I'm sure there are many more cases like that we don't know.
Yeah, well, I think if scientists were to scientifically study the phenomena of science, they would find it to look a lot more like a religious experience than they would what it's conceived of in the modern day. It's similar to your sort of, lack of consensus around the standard model polemic.
There was a philosopher of science who took that attitude, who I got to meet, Paul Feyerabend.
Oh, I love him. Against method.
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
Well, when he published his book, you may know that there was an astrology chart he put on the back page. He took real issue with the scientists, about 100 of them, from the SciComm, primarily motivated to publish an article, what would you call it, a white paper or something, criticizing astrology, scientists who knew nothing about astrology. And he said that this was a total abuse of the scientific method to claim that they had an authority to say that astrology was nonsense. So he published his own chart on the back of his book. And he said, if you look at what scientists actually do, the great discoveries in science are often accidental, or they come from people who totally disregarded what we think of as, Popper and the scientific method.
No, totally. Yeah, I love the example of Marconi, who was right because he was wrong. He thought that electromagnetic waves might curve, so he tried to send it across the Atlantic, but he just didn't anticipate the ionosphere. So the electromagnetic wave bounced off the ionosphere accidentally, and then he sent the message successfully. I think poking at the boundaries of reality often gets you really amazing results, and it, like you said, sort of can be accidental. And that's not to say, it's like the persistence finds you when you're hard at work. You need the hard work. Often it's helpful to have some domain expertise. But, the thesis of that book, Against Method, the idea that there's some sort of formula, and to be this sort of pedantic, nitpicking expert makes you most likely to be next in line for the actual next innovation, I think is sort of a ridiculous notion.
Well, you know who really put Robert Temple on the path that he's on?
Who?
Arthur Young.
No way.
Yeah.
So Arthur Young put Robert Temple on the path that he's on?
Robert Temple, when he was a teenager, he was very precocious, and he, if I recall correctly, he got a scholarship, and he was a student at, it might have been Temple University or another university in Philadelphia, where Arthur Young was living, and somehow they got connected, and as a teenager in college, younger than his classmates, Arthur Young sort of took him under his wing, and he actually helped Arthur write the first draft of the reflexive universe.
That's amazing. That's such a wild story. So for the audience, a little bit of context on Robert Temple. He's this amazing, also very polymathic thinker. He's written a few different books. He wrote a book called The Serious Mystery, actually, about the Dogon people in which African country? I think in Mali.
Forget.
And they somehow, in their tradition, knew that there were two Sirius planets, Sirius A and Sirius B. Or is it two stars?
Right.
Yeah,
It's a
two
double
Sirius
star.
stars, a binary star system. And, astronomy sort of backed it up much later. And, they had a whole, people that were kind of coming from that civilization that, endowed humanity with arts and sciences and wisdom and knowledge. But he also has written an amazing book called A New Science of Heaven. And this book combines, I'd say, plasma physics with metaphysics.
Right.
And it is amazing because, usually I open up these books and I'm like, I'm expecting a lot of kind of woo-woo, mushy brain thinking, a lot of, mutually exclusive things are true at the same time. Everything is everything style stuff. And I'm reading this book and he's talking about Nobel Prize winners who he's, regularly in communication with, goes through a whole history of plasma physics, and then connects that with how, Moses speaking to the burning bush could be like a plasmoid or whatever that's, kind of a modern UFO encounter. And then specifically talks about Kordalovsky clouds.
Right.
In the L5 position, he's written an amazing research paper as a kind of a follow-up on this, which is this Kordalovsky cloud between, at the Lagrangian point, between the moon and the Earth. And so the Lagrangian point is where gravity perfectly cancels out so that this like sort of big plasma ball can sort of sit there. And he believes that it's responsible for these long delay echoes, these radio transmissions that were sent in the early 1920s, where, sometimes a few minutes later, you get the exact same message back that you sent out. And he thought that those messages were coming from this Kordalovsky cloud.
He claims that plasma itself is self-organizing. Plasma is physical, but it's non-molecular. It's really ionic. And most of the universe is composed of plasma. Stars are made out of plasma. large gas clouds that cover the galaxy are largely made out of plasma, though there's some that they call dust mixed in with the plasma. And plasma physicists have said it's incredibly self-organizing. So they're called the Kardylewski clouds. There are two of them, as I recall, at the L5 point. They are approximately 9 times as large as the Earth itself. They're barely visible to our instruments because the plasma clouds are, how would you describe it? They're not dense. But he says that the plasma cloud can have a structure far more sophisticated or intricate than the human body, and he believes they could be conscious entities.
6 years ago, my brother and I were tired of throwing on our backs on cheap shop stools that wobbled, tipped, and quit on us. So we decided to build our own with one goal in mind: make the highest quality shop chair in America. I'm Dane, co-founder of Viper, and today more than 100,000 customers trust our chairs in their garages, shops, and workspaces across the country. Here we have our flagship chair, the Robust Steel Max. It really is the last chair you'll ever buy, and it's the one most people go to when they want a chair that can do it all. You get all steel and aluminum construction, thick cushioning, back support for all-day comfort, and oversized casters that roll over anything. This chair will last you a lifetime. Next to it is the Elevated Steel Max. This chair gives you the same build quality, but with extra height for taller workstations. And over here is our Robust Steel Sport, which includes a built-in tool tray and is our lower profile option so you can get closer to your work. Every Viper chair is hand-built by American tradesmen on American soil, with every order supporting more than 45 jobs right here at home. Try any Viper chair in your shop risk-free for 30 days. If you don't love it, send it back for a full refund. So ditch the cheap shop stools and experience the difference of a Viper chair.
Here's how to safely trim your dog's nails without fear, stress, or risk of infection. If you want to stop nail trims being something you and your dog both dread, these two things need to go. Both of them are setting you up to fail. And I know that sounds strange, because these are the exact two things everyone tells you to use. But let me show you what's actually happening. Clippers look harmless. Squeeze, snip, done. Simple. Except if you could actually see inside your dog.
So fascinating. And there are studies now supporting that where, plasma seems to cohere to a human heartbeat when a person walks up to it. It's almost like the random event generators, where when you look at plasma, it seems fundamentally erratic and random, but it can cohere almost in an intelligent way. You can get really cold bits of plasma coinciding with really hot bits of plasma. And this goes hand in hand with Rupert Sheldrake's idea that the sun is conscious, because the sun is obviously made of plasma, and maybe coronal mass ejections or cosmic radiation is a way of shining that sending that intelligence to Earth in some way.
Well, the universe would be 99% composed of plasma, and for people who say, and I think it's very credible, that the universe as a whole is conscious, that would be a way of thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right. Atomic matter is the exception to the rule. Most of what constitutes the universe are actually these charged ions. And then you get into really interesting ways of connecting that with your, survival of the soul after death research, where does the energy of the soul go? And maybe it's around us. Maybe it's always surrounding us, and maybe it exists in these sort of plasma forms. And when you see testimonies of, people in the quote-unquote UFO legacy program, and these plasma balls seem to kind of cohere and become inert and turn into these solid objects that come out of the sky once their summit, or in certain cases directed energy is used against them, which is really sort of dystopian thing to even think about. It's like plasma can turn back into particulate matter. and then particulate matter can turn back into plasma, and that's not even an anti-scientific thing to say, because these are just phase transitions that can occur all the time.
Right.
But maybe that's what happens when you die. You go into your plasma state.
I think there's another wrinkle that you could add to that, which is the idea of higher dimensions of space, which are essential in string theory and a whole series of related theories, membrane theory, and so on in physics, all involve the mathematics of higher states of, or let's say additional states of physical space, in addition to the three dimensions that we normally experience. Mathematically, you can go right up to what's called Hilbert space, which is a space of infinitely many dimensions. So I don't think we can rule that out either, although I know Arthur Young, who was a huge inspiration to Robert Temple, would disagree. Arthur would have said that what we really should look at is a reduction in dimensions, not more dimensions.
I don't know what we should look at. I think there's some bumping up against our limits, but, Ken Wilson, who was a physicist at CERN, he had this idea called renormalization, where materials would go through phase transitions based on the amount of energy that was being kind of input into the material, and they would have properties attributed to them that would be totally disconnected from one another depending on the energy state of what's being kind of transmitted to the material. And so you could think of physics like that too. You could think of that with respect to energy and maybe with respect to scale as well. And so you have to wonder what's going on with plasma. And speaking of its connection with possible soul, afterlife, that sort of stuff, in Buddhist traditions, in Shinto traditions, I don't know if you're familiar with this Japanese concept of the hitodama, but it's these plasma orbs that represent the soul, and they sort of go up in the afterlife. You can watch like a Miyazaki film, like The Boy in the Huron, and it's sort of this whole actually almost Persephone's Quest style tale of the afterlife. But you see these little plasma balls, and these are these souls that are disembodied.
I'm not familiar with that, but it would make sense. I think Robert Temple would concur. He has told me that he has communicated with plasma beings.
Really?
Yes.
He's personally communicated with plasma beings.
I did a lengthy interview with Robert in which he talked about astral projection, traveling through the universe, but he described a moment he was flying on an airplane. He said a plasma being entered the airplane, and he had a lengthy conversation with her. It was a female.
I had some extremely important interactions when I was flying to Singapore at 38,000 feet or whatever it was. One of them came into the plane. She was a young woman, so a higher entity. And I was asleep, and she bent over. I could see her in my sleep, bending over. Because she's about 8 feet tall, these higher entities are always tall. And she kissed the top of my head and woke me up.
What did she talk about?
She talked about her relationship with her father, of all things.
Wow. But so she was just a fully, disconnected from his own life.
Yeah.
This game does not have energy limits. This game has no daily login streaks, no pay-to-win shop telling you to spend more. You build your own galactic outpost, expand your territory across the stars, and the game just lets you play at your own pace, on your own terms. The game is called Foundation Galactic 4. I started playing last Tuesday, and I still haven't put it down. You're colonizing dead planets, building up your fleet, managing resources, and every upgrade feels genuinely earned, no waiting behind a paywall. And the strategy runs deep. There's always one more thing to unlock, one more sector push into. I kept telling myself just 5 more minutes. If you're tired of mobile games nickel and dining you, seriously give Foundation Galactic Frontier a real shot. It respects your time. It respects your wallet. The galaxy is waiting, and it's not asking for your credit card. Go download it right now.
Let's try this now. That's pretty nice. That's really, really, really nice. I mean, it's nice and comfortable.
Whoa.
That's what he claimed. And, you know, if it was anyone else other than Robert Temple, I probably would have dismissed the idea completely. But he's a solid, credible person, to my way of thinking.
No, I think he's a really hard-headed guy. And now maybe I'm over pattern matching here, as one tends to do sometimes with these topics. But I think of blue beings showing up. I've had a past guest who was a construction worker, and a blue being showed up in his bedroom and transmitted sophisticated physics principles to him, and it put him on the radar of Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff, people who, whose physics prowess, is kind of hard to argue with. You have this amazing blue being experience that prompts you to get into quantum physics.
Because of what this being had showed me, I started looking into this notion of longitudinal scalar waves. Now, these were shown to me by this being as slinkies, so to speak, that exist all around us.
He's really interested in all these kind of non-standard, extended electrodynamical models, and speaks about these things in like fairly sophisticated ways, where like, I don't know how you get from construction worker to that. And so he's talking about this blue plasma being transmitting this information to him.
There are other examples of blue beings. Whitley Strieber talks about them. He calls them kobolds.
Yeah, wow.
And I did an interview with Robin Foy, who was one of the people who organized what's called the Skoll experiment in psychical research. It's one of the strongest cases in the literature of an ongoing research program that manifested all sorts of dramatic paranormal phenomena. And Robin Foy was the central organizer of that. He's now deceased. But he talked about being in seances where a blue extraterrestrial being would manifest physically to the point where he could touch him.
Whoa. And these blue beings, I feel like, are generally described as good. But maybe that's just my own anecdotal experience. Is that your understanding too? Like, I think of gray aliens and they seem neutral at best and harmful at worst. And then these blue beings are often, I was just at this Joe Dispenza retreat, and it was really interesting. And you're doing these meditations, and you're tapping into your pineal gland, and in some ways it's like a systematization of like a Kundalini experience. And so I think there's a lot of precedent for all sorts of miraculous healings occurring through this method. Dispenza says that in his deep meditations, blue beings show up in the room and they tell him that the collective, the people in the conference, need to vibrate higher in order for the blue beings to fully manifest and heal. And often in these like kind of spontaneous healing occurrences, the people say that the blue beings are doing the healing.
It's interesting. I don't know much about it, really.
I don't either. Well, in your anecdotal experience, are the blue beings generally positive, or?
Well, yeah, I would say so, but I probably say the same thing about all of them. I can't say that I'm very knowledgeable, not ever having had any first-hand experience with any ET type of being. I've heard positive things about the Greys and the Mantids and the Nordics and maybe not the reptilians, but I wouldn't necessarily discount them either.
I recently heard of a positive story with the reptilian. So, and I don't know this guy very well, but it's like, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you my bottom line on all of this, and it comes through the Ra channelings that Buharich was involved in with Carla Ruckert, who published the Ra material and the Law of One. I like the Law of One. I subscribe to it, and it is that we are one with everything. So, the most hideous creatures on Earth or elsewhere are part of who we are.
Yeah, it feels like that. Sometimes these beings, and I was re-listening to your interview with John Mack, and John Mack's talking about all these abductees, and we're talking about being in a fear state, obviously, first time the ontological shock, you see a gray being in your bedroom or something. Then he took it one step deeper with you, and he said, but often the abductee starts to identify with the being.
A very powerful dimension of this phenomenon is what I call the double identity aspect. When you go deeply into the experience, you get past the trauma, the reproductive insults that are involved here, and you come to a place where the individual acknowledge, particularly through connection through the eyes, which is a very profound aspect of this, the joining, the bonding that occurs through the eye connection. When you get past that, the experiencers, as they're called, will often experience themselves as aliens, that they have a whole other identity as an alien.
And there's this sort of double identity where it's like they actually remember sort of seeing themselves through the being's eyes or being the being themselves. And so that's just fascinating. It's this idea you can sort of port your consciousness into anything.
But Terence McKenna had an interesting way of describing that. He said, we are so unfamiliar with our own depths that when we get confronted with it, we think it's an alien.
Yeah, I mean, are you familiar with Kabbalistic traditions where often demonic seeming or bad beings show up when somebody is sort of seeking some primordial truth? And those beings, it's like there's a Mozart flute symphony where you fly by these demons and you're playing flute and then they turn into your angels after you like get past that level. And so in a lot of these sort of celestial ascent traditions, there's 7 levels and you have to like discard a garment, or you have to say a passcode or something at each level, whether it's Rosicrucianism or Sumerian or the Hekalote, in the Hebrew tradition. But
well, it's said, and I think it's true, if you visit cathedrals or especially various temples in Asia, there are demons guarding every temple. And they're there for a purpose. In Buddhism, they're in the service of the Buddha.
Yes, or they're an excavation of your own impure motivations.
Yeah.
And in order to be in the holiest of holies, the Ark of the Covenant, you have to be really of pure intent.
And you have to confront your own shadow.
Yeah, what's the Jung quote, until you confront your subconscious, you call it fate or something.
I haven't heard that one, but it makes perfect sense. It's consistent with what we're talking about, that oftentimes, and very often in the UFO literature, people who are abducted, take Whitley Strieber as an example, who said he was raped anally, and to this day, decades later, he puts ointment on to cover the wounds he experienced, but at the end of the day, he says it was a communion.
Right. Yeah. He is so fascinating. Like, I know there are a lot of people that dismiss him. I think he's extremely high openness. This is the tricky thing with a lot of these people. It's like the high openness is what requires the greater epistemology and the greater amount of experience that these people, they have literally like a wider aperture. But then because they're high openness, they're what I think traditional Western skeptics would also call credulous. So it's this weird hand in hand, like one has to go with the other almost. And so I would describe Whitley as somebody like that. And I don't know if you experience this, but when I'm in Whitley's presence, I feel something. I feel like, oh, you're like your reality is like a local pocket of consensus reality that is different than the one I'm normally operating in.
Okay, I want to talk about this book that I just found. I'm obsessed with this book. Is it a book? It's so much more. It could be you.
Jeffrey Kripal, who co-authored a book with Whitley, tells about the time they shared a room together at the Esalen Institute, and in the middle of the night, Jeffrey had this experience, and all he could think was, "Oh my God, like this is real, and it's happening now." And he warned me because I have invited Whitley.
see it. Maybe. Oh, it's gonna be painful if I don't make it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. I gotta be an inch short. Under 6 inches. Now, in the real world, if this were a manual, I could get it there just on the starter. I could lug it on the starter. It won't start. I can't even get it to manual. Huh. Ain't that a bummer? That's all I needed to move. That's how short I came. Just by a couple inches. I could have done something different there somewhere. Save kinetic energy. Okay, next step, we're heading to Butte. Gonna buy a garage. Start a business. I wonder if there's no garage available to buy. There's one in Helena. There's one in Missoula. But I ain't seeing it for Butte. Buy me some used trucks. Throw some drivers in. Let them start making some money for me. Start building their licenses so they really start making good money for me. So right now, I don't think drivers will drive these trucks until I repair them. This one they will. I thought this one was damaged more. Okay, I'm gonna repair these two trucks and then throw drivers in the trucks and then continue on my journey. I think I'll be able to change trucks and maintain the job, I think. It'll be a test. I don't think I've done that before. So, pulled into town, bought a garage, bought 2 trucks, repaired them so drivers could drive them. Bought them cheap. Buying these 9900s, they're 450 horsepower, so plenty of power to get the job done. Well under $100,000 on the total investment per truck. Got something fully functional. And back onto the roll of the trucks now. Switch trucks. Okay, let's get the show on the road. Get down to Butte. So, rocking 450 horsepower, upgraded to a 13 speed with a retarder from the 10 speed. Got my GPS, because I need it. Okay, need a cup of coffee. Roll. Cup of coffee. Could be curious about the lighting here. The paint job looks weird. It's got this weird, I don't know, haze on it. Anyways, let's go. fix that paint job. Chase them dollars. I want to stay in Montana, but money's taking me to Ogden, Utah, so here we go. let's get going. Ogden, Utah. Thanks, money. Pay some bills. pumpkin. Back up into Montana. Probably something out of here running to Butte. Billings. I'm gonna take a break, get some coffee, figure out the next job. I'll be back in 5. Okay, figure out the next move here. Either buy a truck or find a job. Got room for one more truck yet. Nah, let's find a job. that job, make some money, pay them bills. I don't know, it depends on lights, I don't know. Sand Point. Let's go. not in love with this thing with the 13 speed. It needs an 18 speed. Just a 13 speed's got a 355 final diff, and it just wraps out too much.
Sweet.
bro. Take it. You got it. Don't be shy. You got it. Go get it. Get her done. Yeah.
I'd like to ask my wife, June Carter, come by. Come in, sure like to go with you. Honey, I can do the two-step, the Oklahoma shuffle too. The Kentucky crawl, or the Carolina reel. Now there ain't a dance that I can't do. I can jitterbug a square that you fast or slow. Now, honey, you just wait to see. Wrap the pretty arms of yours around my neck, and you can Tennessee waltz with me. There ain't nobody I'd like better to go with me in this here car. Now don't you worry nothing about me, baby. I don't wanna go too far. Just let them old Texas fiddles make you forget all of your blues. Now, honey, put your pretty red dress on, and don't forget your dancing shoes. Honey, I can do the two-step, the Oklahoma shuffle too. The Kentucky call, or the Carolina reel. Now there ain't a dance that I can't do. I can jitterbug a square that you fast and slow. Now, honey, you just wait to see. Wrap the pretty arms of yours around my neck, and you can Tennessee waltz with me. And Ray Benson and a snip in the wheel.
go. Same point. Let's go. Gotta make it over this mountain. Oh. Alrighty, good game, truckers. Catch you next time.